queers, and welcome back to Lit for Queers, the corner of the internet or of YouTube where I give you tons of recommendations on queer reads and sometimes I discuss queer themes. Today, as the end of September once, it is very gloomy and rainy here in Sweden. And so I hope you don't mind if I'm joined by my little cup of tea. I am not a coffee drinker at all, so that's another fun fact about me. Despite coming from Italy, I just never liked the taste of coffee, and I barely can survive with the smell of coffee as well, which is not great for my boyfriend because he loves coffee. But in other words, today I'm here to talk to you about my favorite Sapphic books, or at least five of them, because this month is Sapphic September. And I know that we're at the end of it, but I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in because I'm of the opinion that you can never read too much Sapphic literature or too much queer literature. So let's get into that. So the first book that I want to mention here, maybe it's sort of inspired by the weather, might have, yeah, might be. But that is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. That has become one of my absolute favorite Sapphic books in the last couple of years. I first read it 2 years ago, I think, when it first came out when I was in Madeira with one of my best friends. And let me just tell you, I absolutely adored this novel, but do not read it if you're near a body of water. That might be a lake, that might be the open ocean, that might be the sea. I really kind of got an uneasy feeling from it. So, what does it talk about? So, Our Wives Under the Sea sees the dual perspectives of Miri and Leah, who are married. They're two wives. And Miri thinks that she's finally gotten her wife back from this very dangerous deep sea mission. But she quickly realizes that the person that she now has at her side is not really her wife, or at least is not the wife that she knew before she went down into the deep sea. And so that novel is basically the development of Miri's understanding that Leah is not the person that she married anymore. She's not the woman that she loved for so long anymore. And then on the other side, you have Leah's very detailed description of what has happened on this mission that went very chaotically. And so we understand why she's become the way she's become, but at the same time, there's that element of confusion and of lore, maybe, or folklore as well. And Julia Armfield does this type of writing so beautifully. She's only on her second novel now. It came out very recently. It's called Private Rights. I really liked that one too. And she has this way of writing which is very poetic, very atmospheric, which I think is great for autumn or winter. And she leaves you with a sense of uneasiness that is really hard to detach from in my opinion. But I think those are the best books really, because they actually leave you with something, with that lingering feeling of something. Yeah. And so I definitely recommend Our Wives Under the Sea. I think it also has that normalization of queerness part. So the story is not about being queer. It's just a detail of it, which some people might like, some people might not. But it's definitely a 5 out of 5 book for me. And then the second book I want to talk to you about, and this one is very atmospheric as well. I don't know if I went with a pattern here, but this second novel is called The Telltale by Claire Ashton. And Claire Ashton is definitely a niche author from what I've gathered, but it's one that I really hope more people are going to get into as soon as possible, really. So I started off by picking The Telltale, actually, a few years ago, and then I kept on reading more novels from her. And she has this very straightforward, very emotional way of writing, in my opinion. And all of her books are sapphic stories. So she has some historical romances, she has some friends to lovers stories, so more like on the romance side. But I really enjoyed all of them. And as I said, the first one I picked up was The Telltale. So, The Telltale, as I said before, is a historical fiction book, and it's actually my favorite out of all the three that I've read by Claire Ashton. It's very atmospheric. It's set in a small village in Wales during a really cold winter. So, that's the kind of atmosphere that you're gonna get if you wanna read this book. It follows Beth, who is a woman who grew up in this small village and is returning after years away with her daughter, but no husband or no partner. And she's sort of welcomed with open arms, but at the same time, she clearly notices how there is an air of distrust for anybody and anything that is foreign to that village. But at the same time, Beth is also not back to the village for the reasons that she's telling everybody. And so she's keeping a lot of secrets, both from the friends that she makes, the friends that she had, and even from her daughter. And then vicious notes start appearing on the doorsteps of the inhabitants of the small village. And these notes do tell the truth. They're very vicious. They are revealing secrets, unearthing secrets that people would have loved to leave um, buried very deeply into the earth, but they're all truth. And so people start wondering, who is it that is sending these notes? And a lot of people turn to Beth for uh, for answers. But Beth herself is merely waiting to receive her own note and to see what type of secret this stranger who's sending this mysterious notes knows about her. And then when she does receive her note or her notes, they're not detailing any of her secrets. And so she can't help but notice how it seems like somebody's playing with her. And so she has to investigate, she has to unearth what the heck is happening in this small, sleepy village. And she might actually be led to a truth that was hidden for years and years. And so, as I said, this is my favorite Claire Ashton book. I read Poppy Jenkins and Meeting Millie after that. They're both romances and they're very atmospheric in more of a summery way, so I might recommend them more for spring or summer. The third book that I wanted to chat to you about is called Cantoras by Carolina de Robertis, and it is set in Uruguay in the 1970s. So this is also a historical novel. If you're enjoying something similar, I definitely recommend you pick up this beautiful novel, who's also full of history lessons told in a very, very um, easy way. So for me, who did not know very much about the history of Uruguay, since it's so far away from me and so removed from my reality, unfortunately, I really didn't know about the history of the country very much. And as I didn't know, and you might not know, I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about it, which is basically that in the 1970 or at least 1977, which is where the book is set, a military coup had happened and political dissent is crushed by force. And being queer in any way was absolutely not seen as a possibility or seen as a safe choice or a safe identity to have. And it's in this environment where we meet five women who are all queer in different ways. And they befriend each other in one way or the other. They kind of link each other and become fast friends. And as they're trying to live their lives and to love one another and to love other women, they hear through the grapevine that there is an isolated place where they could go with their loves, they could go to rest out from the city and away from the prying eyes of the government and prying eyes of the neighbors. And so they venture out to this place, and over the next 30 years, we see their stories and we see how they continuously go back to this safe haven, basically, to live out their dreams, to live out their lives, really. The fourth novel I'd like to talk to you about is accidentally another historical fiction, which is called Notes of a Crocodile by Chiu Miao Jin. Hopefully, I haven't butchered that name completely. It's set in Taipei post martial law, so in the 1980s, and it follows a group of friends, a group of youngsters who are hardly studying at one of the most prestigious universities in the area, and they're all queer and trying to find their own way around friendships, around love, and around the world. And especially, we follow an anonymous lesbian narrator who falls in love with an older woman. And in the aftermath of this love, which doesn't end up being too healthy, um, she seeks comfort she seeks the comfort of her friends who are equally, if not more, troubled than her in their own queer environments, in their own queer existences. And so this is a really cult novel in Asia, apparently, or at least in the queer scene of Asia. And I really enjoyed the writing, despite the fact that I didn't feel that much of an emotional connection to the character. But by reading more and more from different cultures, I realized that what writers themselves prioritize in their novels is usually very different country to country. And I found that authors from Korea or from Japan or from China, they all have that. They have a very particular way of writing, which usually focuses on loneliness and on nostalgia, on kind of like the haziness of life if you don't take care of yourself. And I've noticed that with plenty of books, queer and non-queer. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why they're so special, they're so unique compared to a lot of other books coming from other cultures. Let me know if you've noticed the same, or if you think I'm totally speaking out of turn, or it's something that you haven't noticed. The last book I want to talk about for my recommendations is called Under the Udala Trees by Chinelo Okparanta. It is another historical fiction. I am really sorry at this point, but it is set just before the civil war in Nigeria, and it follows a girl called Ijeoma who is sent away for her own safety by her parents, just as civil war breaks out in the young country of Nigeria at the time. And when she's sent away, she meets another child that has been displaced by the war. And so the two become fast friends, and then friendship turns into something else. But there's two issues here. First, they come from two different ethnic groups in Nigeria, and any relation, or at least any romantic relation between those two ethnic groups, is not very well regarded in the country. And second, they're both girls. And so unfortunately, they are discovered. This is all in the blurb, by the way. I'm not trying to spoil you guys. This is all public. But as their love is found or is discovered, then Ijeoma must protect herself in ways that she doesn't necessarily like, including hiding herself. And so the book, apart from their love, is tale of selfhood and of realizing who you are, and of realizing who you are allowed to be in certain contexts, and what you can put up with, really. So this is a very enlightening book that I really enjoyed. It's quite fast paced. Do mind the trigger warnings for this one, because again, we're talking about historical fiction and we're talking about um, queerness, so we all know how that goes. But these are my recommendations for Sapphic books for Sapphic September. And so, yeah, this is the end of this video. I don't know how long it's gotten, but I really hope that you took some recommendations from me. And until next time, bye.